晚安。
晚安。
Those are the only Chinese words I know.
晚安是我唯一会说的中文。
I'd like to begin by thanking David and his Light Center in Taipei for bringing me to your beautiful country.
那首先呢，我想要先感谢光中心的介委来邀请我来到台湾，让我来到你们这个美丽的国家。
David is a great light worker, and we're very fortunate to have him here.
那介委是一个很棒的光的工作者，所以呢，大家在台湾有这样子的光的工作者，真的非常的幸运。
And I'd like to thank Naima for translating for me tonight.
Thank you. 那老师也感谢我今天晚上帮他翻译。
And I'd like to thank Grace for all of your help.
那我也要谢谢新能量的 Grace.
And everyone else who helped to set up tonight.
还有当然所有其他新能量的台中这边的朋友帮助，就是Grace 还有我们，让我们今天晚上这个演讲可以发生。
So, as you know, my name is Robert Schwartz, and I'm the American author of 2 books about how we plan our lives before we're born.
那大家都应该知道，已经知道了，我的名字叫做罗伯特·舒华兹，然后我是有2本著作的一个美国作家，一本就是《从未知中解脱》，另外一本是《灵魂的出生前计划》。第一本。这个从未知中解脱，第2本是灵魂的出生前计划。
How many of you have read either of the books?
那请问有多少人曾经读过任何其中一本？
So I want to get a sense of who is here tonight.
所以我想要先了解一下有什么样的听众在今天在这边。
Before you heard of my work, how many of you had heard of this idea that we plan our lives before we're born?
那在大家接触到我的作品之前，请问有多少人曾经听过出生前计划的概念？
So you're a very well-informed audience.
所以你们是一个很有知识的听众。
How many of you believe that idea?
有多少人相信这个出生前计划是存在的？
That's good. You're a friendly audience.
那很棒，你们是一个很友善的听众。
What I would like to do tonight is begin by telling you a little bit about myself, my own spiritual path, and how I came to write the 2 books.
那我想今天晚上我先开始的时候先介绍一下我自己，还有我自己为什么会开始写这2本书。
Then I'll give you an overview of the research findings. That is, the 5 main reasons I found why we ourselves plan before we're born to experience great challenges in life.
然后呢，我会跟大家说呢，从我的研究中我所发现的，为什么我们会制定出生前计划的主要的5个原因。
Then I will tell you about some of the stories in the books and discuss those with you.
然后呢，我会跟大家讲一些书中的例子，然后跟大家讨论。
Then I'll make some concluding comments.
然后做结论。
And then we should have plenty of time for question and answer.
结论之后呢，就是开放给大家问问题。
So, who am I and how did I come to write books with such an unusual premise?
那我是谁呢？那我怎么会开始写这么特殊的主题的书呢？
For me, the path to writing these 2 books began in Chicago back in 2003.
那对我而言呢，这一切都在2003年的时候，在芝加哥开始。
At that time, I was self-employed as a marketing and communications consultant, basically doing different types of corporate writing.
在那个时候呢，我的工作是一个自由就是市场行销的这个顾问，然后呢，我基本上就是在帮很多的企业写文案。
And I found this work to be very boring and very unfulfilling.
那我觉得这样子的工作非常的无聊，而且我非常没有满足感。
I used to say to people at the time that I had the feeling that if I were to fall off the face of the earth, none of my clients would know that I was gone. They would just plug someone else into my role and carry right along.
那我记得我对当时的朋友说，如果我明天就从这个地球上消失，我的客户也不会觉得怎么样，他们应该就是去找另外一个人来做我的工作。
But at the same time, I had the feeling that there was a higher calling or a higher purpose for my life. I just didn't know what it was, and I wasn't sure how to figure out what it was.
但是那时候呢，我又觉得说我的生命好像有另外一种更高的呼唤，但是我并不知道它是什么，也不知道怎么样去找出它。
Now, it's important to understand that I come from a very conventional background.
那重要的是呢，就是我其实是来自一个非常平凡普通的背景。
I grew up in a conventional suburb of Cleveland, Ohio, in the United States.
那我出生在这个俄亥俄州的克利夫兰，然后是在一个非常平凡的一个家庭里。
I grew up in a very conventional family. They might not like that description, but I think we were very conventional.
那我出生在平凡的家庭里，虽然我的家人可能不喜欢这样子的描述，可是我觉得我们的家庭就是非常的就是一般。
And I have a conventional education based on the scientific method.
然后我也接受了一般的教育，也就是所谓的科学性的教育。
So back in mid-2003, when I was having what you could call an existential crisis, my first attempts to resolve it were very conventional in nature.
所以当我在2003年呢遇到这种存在上的危机的时候呢，我试着去解决它的方法也是非常的一般。
The first thing I did was to take a certain type of personality test that we use in the United States called the Myers-Briggs Inventory.
那我首先呢采取的方法呢，就是那个你知道那个中文叫什么吗 ？Myers-Briggs Inventory 就是一种好像测验 IQ，测验性向的一种，就是去做那种性向测验。
And I learned from this that I'm what's called an INFJ personality type, but that really didn't do me any good at all.
然后我就去做，但是这对我一点帮助都没有。
So when that didn't help, the next thing I did was I went to talk to many friends and family members.
所以呢，然后我就去问我的家人跟朋友。
And I said to them, I'm not enjoying this corporate work that I'm doing at all. I feel that there's a higher calling for my life, but I don't know what it is. What do you think it might be?
那我就说呢，我觉得我一点都不享受做这种商业性的这种工作。我觉得有一个更高的一个呼唤在等着我，但是你觉得那是什么？
So about half the people I talked to literally shrugged their shoulders and said, I don't know.
那我问的人呢，大概一半以上的人都对我耸耸肩膀，然后跟我说他们不知道。
And the other half recommended that I do whatever they were doing for a living.
那另外一半呢，就建议我去做他们所做的工作。
And as you can imagine, this was not very helpful.
那你就可以想见呢，这对我一点帮助都没有。
So when that didn't shed any light on the matter, I began to think I need to do something outside the box here.
所以呢，当这些都不管用的时候呢，我就觉得说我好像应该要打破框框，做一些不同的事情。
And this idea came to me: go see a psychic medium.
然后我突然就觉得我好像可以去找一个灵媒。
Now again, coming as I did from a very conventional background, mediumship was not part of that background.
那我出生于一般的家庭中，所以其实在我的成长背景，灵媒并不属于我们这个生长的一部分，成长的一部分。
But I thought, why not give it a try? It'll just take an hour of my time, a little bit of money, and if nothing comes from it, there's no harm done.
但是我就觉得说，那何尝不能一试？因为就算没有用，也只是1个钟头、2个钟头，然后一点钱而已。
Knowing what I know now, I think this idea probably came from a spirit guide who was whispering in my ear.
那当然啦，我现在知道了那么多资讯之后，我就想说，当初为什么会有这样的感觉？可能是我的指导灵在我的耳边偷偷的告诉我的。
But at the time, I didn't know what a spirit guide was, and so of course I thought it was my own brilliant idea.
但是那时候呢，我并不知道说指导灵是什么，所以呢，我就以为这是我自己聪明的想法。
The session with the medium took place on May 7th of 2003.
那一个通灵会，就是我第一次找灵媒的这个体验呢，是2003年的5月7号。
And the reason I remember the date is because this was the day on which my life changed.
那为什么我会记得这一天呢？因为就在这一天，我的生命改变了。
In the session with the medium introduced me to the concept of spirit guides.
那在那场通灵会里面呢，这个灵媒就介绍我，就告诉我什么是指导灵。
And she explained that a spirit guide is a highly evolved, non-physical being with whom we plan our lives before we're born, and who then guides us through our lives after we come here.
他就说呢，指导灵呢是一些高灵呢，他们在我们出生前呢，就跟我们一起制定我们的计划，然后在我们出生之后呢，在这里继续的帮助我们。
Through this particular medium, I was actually able to talk to my spirit guides.
那透过这位灵媒呢，我当时就可以跟我的指导灵沟通。
And they said a lot of incredible things to me that day, one of which was, they said, you planned your life and your biggest challenges before you were born.
那他们对我说了很重要的事情，就在那天，他们就对我说，其实你的这一生的最大的挑战呢，都是你出生前你就已经计划好的。
And I'll tell you, I just shook my head and I said, why in the world did I do that?
那我当时的反应就是跟他摇摇头说，那我为什么要这么做？
The spirit guide said, you did this for purposes of spiritual growth.
那指导灵就说，你这么做是因为要得到灵性的成长。
Now, coming as I did from a very conventional background, I might have dismissed all of this as some kind of delusion on my part, except that the spirit guides proved that they knew literally everything about me.
那因为我从这样子非常的科学性的这种教育，出身就是一般性的教育，所以